Before I begin my discussion on the latest episode of The Mandalorian, I want to say a few words about Jeremy Bulloch, who passed away yesterday at the age of 75. Jeremy was known in Star Wars as Boba Fett in the original trilogy. He's also known for his other roles in The Newcomers, Summer Holiday, Doctor Who, and countless others. My heart goes out to the family and friends of the original Boba Fett. Rest in peace, Jeremy, and thank you for all you've done for the Star Wars franchise. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Sector for Nerds. I'm Ryan Brower, and today I'm here to talk to you guys about the Season 2 finale of The Mandalorian called The Rescue. Now, I know yesterday there were many people most likely crying tears of sadness by the death of Jeremy Bulloch, the original Boba Fett himself, and I think today, if I had to make any guesses, people are going to be crying tears of joy based on what we saw in that episode. Now, before we get into why we all might be crying a little bit, let me get into some other bits of the episode, just as because I feel like there are some big, other newsworthy things that happened in this episode. Bo-Katan came back along with Sasha Banks. I don't know Sasha's character's name, but I just know her as Sasha Banks from WWE. Not sure where the other guy went, though. The Mando went to those two to try and recruit Bo-Katan to come and help them on their mission. I loved the scene between Bo-Katan and Boba Fett, just their dialogue that they had between each other, and, Bo saying, like, you're not even a real Mandalorian, and Boba said, well, I never was, and then Bo saying, like, you don't deserve that armor, and Boba's like, well, yeah, this is my father's armor. The bickering back and forth between each other, it was a cool scene, and then when Sasha got up in his face, and like I said, I don't know the character's name, so I'm just calling her Sasha. Everybody bear with me. Boba Fett and Sasha had a heck of a battle there for a second, which even resulted in Sasha doing a tornado DDT, something that's known in pro wrestling. And he kind of went through a small table too. So yeah, bringing out all the stunts here. So once they all agree to start working together and they reach the light cruiser, they split up into two teams, and one team consists of Bo-Katan, Sasha, Fennec, and Cara, and then Mando going off on his own. I remember back in season 1 when people were complaining on social media how in the first 3 episodes of The Mandalorian there weren't any women shown on screen. And I think that the thing that I would have said at the time is to just be patient, because I knew eventually we were gonna get Cara Dune. And you also have to remember too, guys, Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, let's specifically talk about Dave. Dave has always been a very big advocate for female characters. So I think what this kind of just has to go to show people is sometimes you have to trust the process, because if you look at this episode, like, most of it was centered, besides obviously Mando and the child, but it was centered around 4 other characters that were all female. And before everyone starts going, oh, Ryan doesn't like female characters, like, do you guys not watch my channel? I preach that Ahsoka is my favorite character in almost every video. But I digress. I really enjoyed watching the scene where Cara and Fennec were about to be shot by a bunch of stormtroopers, and then Bo-Katan and Sasha just came up with their jetpacks and annihilated them all. Like, that was cool. But then come the Dark Troopers. Only one of those things was able to get out of that room, and even though there was only one, Mando still struggled with it. He tried using his blaster. That didn't work on it. He tried using the flamethrower. That didn't work. He tried the whistling birds. That didn't work. What it did take was that Beskar spear, and he stabbed it right through his head, and that's the only way he was able to defeat him. The other Dark Troopers were just sent out into the cold darkness of space, but I did kind of suspect, that almost seemed a little too easy. I feel like they may be coming back. And then we get the Mando going to Grogu's cell, and who's sitting in there waiting? Good old Moff Gideon with the Darksaber, and I'll be darned, this guy wasn't in the episode for just 2 minutes. This man has been the main villain for the whole series. It's been leading to this moment. And Moff Gideon's like, hey, I've already gotten what I want from the child. I've taken his blood, which is going to help bring a new order to the galaxy. You can just take him, leave the ship, we go our separate ways, we're all good. But as expected, Moff Gideon did not keep his word, and he started swinging the Darksaber hard at Mando. And now I kind of get why Giancarlo Espinato ended up breaking several Darksaber props. And as I expected, the Mando fought Moff Gideon using the Beskar spear, as I suspected, but Mando ended up winning, and that was the crazy part. But then I started thinking like, okay, hold on, something's going on here. So because Mando beat Moff Gideon, he has a claim to the Darksaber, and I'm almost wondering if maybe Moff Gideon put himself in that position just to try and get them to tear each other apart, because the minute that they go to the bridge, Bo-Katan was pretty much triggered by the fact that Mando had Moff Gideon held captive. But hold on for a second, before I go any further, let's just, this is big news, people. Din Djarin is now Mandalore. He is the leader. He is the one who is the rightful ruler. So this is a big deal. And I'm very curious to see where this goes in season 3, because I have a feeling that Bo-Katan might be challenging Din for that saber. I also think this opens up the door for us seeing other Mandalorians as well, because my guess is I think Mando's gonna go to Mandalore, and I think we could see other people there, like we could see Ursa, we could potentially see Sabine, maybe? I don't know, maybe depending on the timeline, but I guess she would probably be on Lothal by this point, so maybe not Sabine, but we could see Fen Rao, we could see Ursa, which I'm all very excited for. But back to the episode, Moff Gideon was pretty much egging, Bo-Katan on to like, come on, he's got the Darksaber, you want it, go fight him for it. And Din's just like, well, I'm not gonna fight you, here, just have it. And Moff Gideon's just like, nope, it can't be won that way. And then he's like, okay, well, I yield, just take the freaking saber, like, I don't need it. Now, the only plot hole that I do kind of question is, why is it that Sabine was able to hand Bo-Katan the Darksaber in Star Wars Rebels, but Din Djarin couldn't do the same thing here? Damn, I feel like we could talk about this for hours, but guys, we gotta talk about, if y'all thought that was big, that Din Djarin is now Mandalore, this, I think, was probably even bigger than that. Dark Troopers make their return, as I predicted. They start smashing their way through the bridge door, and everyone's got their guns ready, and everyone knows, like, this is crazy, because Mando just fought one of these things. He struggled so much. We now gotta go up against, like, 20 or 30 of these guys, and we're all most likely gonna die. But then in comes an X-Wing. And then that X-Wing comes into the hangar, and it flies in, and it lands. And out comes someone wearing a cloak. And at this point, I pretty much know where this is going. And he pulls out a lightsaber. And we see that lightsaber is green. And then eventually, we see the handle of a lightsaber that we all know very well. And my eyes started watering up, and I said, you know what? This is awesome. I said, what's really going to make me tear up is if they have de-aged Mark Hamill under that cloak. Let's be real, at this point we all knew it was Luke, but at this point I was thinking like, gosh, I want it to be Mark Hamill so bad. Luke starts cutting down these troopers like they're nothing. He ends up coming to the upstairs hallway where the bridge is, and he walks out of the elevator and he starts kicking their butts. He kind of has like a Vader moment from Rogue One. He frickin' force freezes one of the Dark Troopers and crushes it. So then all the Dark Troopers were destroyed, and the man myth himself, Luke Skywalker, walks onto that bridge because Din opens the door, even though everyone was like, I don't know if we should do that, but he opens it. And he takes off the hood. And obviously it's Luke Skywalker, but it was more than that because Mark Hamill was under the hood. I know everybody was saying like, oh, it should be, Sebastian Stan doing it. And, well, maybe that may have been cool. I still think that nothing will ever beat Mark Hamill and his performance as Luke Skywalker. I don't know how they managed to do it, probably using the same technology that they used to de-age Tarkin or Leia, in Rogue One. But this to me was just absolutely amazing. I was literally staring like my 6-year-old childhood in the face, because that's when I grew up watching the original trilogy. And, for those who don't know, Obi-Wan and Luke were the two characters that I enjoyed most when watching the original trilogy. And those were the movies that I watched first. That's how I was introduced. Even though I was born during the time of the prequels, I was introduced to the movies the same way that, all of the older fans were. And Return of the Jedi is my favorite original trilogy movie. And I know that's going to spark a lot of debate because everyone's like, oh, Empire's the best movie, or oh, A New Hope's the best movie. For me, I love Return of the Jedi, and the reason I love it so much is because of Luke Skywalker. You know, I looked at Luke Skywalker the same way that, a lot of people would look at Batman or Spider-Man. A lot of kids, they just look at them as like, oh, these are my heroes. My hero was Luke Skywalker. So to see him again here post Return of the Jedi, and gosh, I'm trying not to cry right now. It was absolutely amazing to me. It was like, this is what, and for all the new trilogy fans, like, I'm sorry, I gotta bash on it for a second, even though some of the movies were good, but this is the Luke Skywalker we should have gotten in the new trilogy. I'm sorry, and you guys can argue this point with me all day long, but at the end of the day, you guys know as well as I do, this is the Luke that we should have gotten in the new trilogy. And I think for me, that was the biggest letdown, especially with Last Jedi, is just like, when I remember watching The Force Awakens, and I'm like, oh my gosh, we're going to find Luke, like, this is amazing. I can't wait to see where this goes. And then Luke shows up at the end of the movie, and I'm like, okay, the next movie, he's gonna appear and he's going to be like this absolute badass that, they talk about, that we see in Return of the Jedi, that we hear about in books and comics, and, the legend that is Luke Skywalker. And then what's the first thing he does in The Last Jedi? Just tossing his lightsaber away, as if it meant nothing to him. I also thought it was cool that for a brief moment in time, even though they didn't have any interaction with each other, but the fact that Luke Skywalker and Bo-Katan were in the same room with each other, one of my favorite characters from when I grew up watching Star Wars to one of my favorite characters today. And then Grogu wanted to leave, but he didn't want to leave without Din's approval. And then, already there, like, starting to get emotional again because this episode just had me in all the feels. But then, like, to make matters even crazier was when Din took off his helmet. It was like a let me look on you with my own eyes moment, between Luke and Vader. But in this case, it was Grogu and Din. So yeah, it's cool that we saw Luke. I mean, gosh, could you imagine if they had, oh my gosh, R2 was there as well. R2-D2 looking at Grogu, Grogu looking at R2, R2 being like, I remember you. You're the one who hit me with a stick. Oh no, wait, that was the other one. And then the final shot of the episode is Luke with Grogu in his arms, R2 in the elevator as well, and the elevator door shuts. And end of episode. Now this is gonna raise even more questions, like, is Grogu gonna ever come back? Is Luke ever coming back in the show? Is Grogu one of the students at Luke's training temple? Like, does Kylo do something in the future? But there we go, guys, and then they roll the credits and the episode's over, and oh my gosh, there's an end credits scene. What is this, the MCU? The first shot is of Jabba's palace, so I'm like, okay, where are we going with this? And then they show frickin' Bib from Return of the Jedi, and then walks in Fennec Shan, killing people, and then Boba walks in, and then Bib's like, oh, hey, Boba, I thought you were dead. What's going on, man? It's been a while. And then Boba kills him, and then Boba goes to sit on the chair as if, like, I'm the new head of Tatooine now. And then it says, the Book of Fett coming 2021. I think December 2021 is what it said, but I don't know for sure. We're gonna be getting a new series about Boba Fett now too? Gosh, what a time to be a Star Wars fan, you guys. Like, this is crazy. All the new content we've been getting with Disney Plus, with The Mandalorian, Clone Wars Season 7, and all the new stuff that's going to be coming up. And now we've got a new Boba Fett show coming, which adds to the list. And then we just had frickin' Luke Skywalker in The Mandalorian. I made a joke at the time when I was watching the part with the X-Wing, but could you imagine if Dave Filoni was the one in the X-Wing, and then you could be like, haha, you guys all thought it was Luke Skywalker, but instead it was me. All right, guys, well, there you have it. That's Mando Season 2. We're going to be done for a little bit now. Though I did hear that we're going to have some more Disney Gallery The Mandalorian coming, so we're definitely going to be discussing that when that comes out. Obviously, when, any and every Star Wars series makes its return or debut on Disney Plus, y'all know we're going to be talking about it. I'm very curious to see where Season 3 is going to go. Like I said before, I think we're going to have more of it centered around Mandalore and Din Djarin, because now he's got the Darksaber, so now he's got to go and, I guess, rule Mandalore, right? The most interesting part, though, and I'm curious to see how the mainstream is going to take this, but now that Baby Yoda looks like he may no longer be in the show, what is that going to do to the appeal of The Mandalorian? Are people still going to be interested? Are people going to tune out? Because, I mean, let's be real, Grogu was like the biggest star in this show. And, you know, not saying that the Mando isn't, because the show is all about Mando, but you look at what brought people to this show, that was Grogu. And now that he's gone, you know, and maybe he does show up again in the season with Luke, I don't know. But the way that it looks right now, I don't know if he is. And if he is, maybe it's like for one episode or something like that. I don't know. But, you know, I'm very curious to see how everybody takes this. I'm okay with it just because I really enjoy this show, just, you know, not just because of Grogu. But I'm very curious to see, like, if we're gonna get Ahsoka back next season, if they're just gonna wait for the new show about her on Disney Plus. That's probably what they're gonna do. Now that I'm thinking about it, I don't think she's gonna be in it. But I think we're definitely gonna see more Bo-Katan, because I think she's gonna have a big problem with Din holding that saber. All right, guys, I think that's going to wrap us up here for today. Thank you guys so much for watching this. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, share this video around as it really helps me out. Much more content coming your way soon, you guys. And season 2, what an amazing season. This was probably my favorite episode of the show. I probably didn't even mention that yet, but definitely my favorite episode, even though I've said that about like every episode this season, but this show just continues to outdo itself. So yeah, just thank you guys so much. I will see you guys soon. This is the way.
This is the way.
This is the way.